Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you a tip about how you can actually reduce the pressure on yourself to succeed. And this is something that I learned from playing sport at a fairly competitive level, but it's also something that I've learned and which I have been able to put into practice. It's a technique. It's a technique that all top sports people put into practice, and the background to it, and there is a psychological reasoning behind it as to why it works. But if I was to say to you, I'm going to put a plank on the ground, a foot above the ground, and it's going to be 6 inches wide, and I'm going to ask you to walk along that plank, a piece of timber, like a scaffolding board. You'd have no difficulty doing that because it's a foot above the ground, or 6 inches above the ground, or indeed 2 foot above the ground. You'd have no problem carrying out that task and accomplishing it and succeeding. However, if I was then to put that same plank, that same scaffolding board, one scaffolding board, 20 feet up in the air, or 30 feet, or 100 feet, then you're going to be thinking twice about taking on the task. You're going to be seriously concerned, and you probably won't do it. In fact, if you're sensible, you won't actually do it. But remember, the task itself is precisely the same as if that board is 6 inches or a foot above the ground. But what's different, obviously, is the consequences of failure. What's different is the consequences of not achieving the goal, of not being able to walk along it. Clearly, if you fall off from 6 inches or a foot, it makes no difference. You're going to save yourself, and you're not going to suffer a catastrophic injury. If you fall off, however, from 20 feet or 50 feet, then that's going to be a serious problem for you. Therefore, you're going to think about the consequences of failure, and that is going to impede your performance. So in order to take the pressure off in any task that you set yourself, in order to give yourself the best chance of success, in order to reduce pressure on you, what you need to do is you need to attend to the process, not the outcome. You need to focus on the process, not the outcome. So if you think about it, you can't control the outcome in most circumstances, most situations. Let me give you 2 examples. One is playing any sport, and 2 is going in, for example, to the Workplace Relations Commission in a hearing situation. You cannot actually determine how the adjudicator is going to determine or decide your case. You can't dictate the outcome. Likewise, if you're playing golf, for example, you can't do anything about your eventual score. All you can do anything about is the next shot. So what you do is you attend to the procedure, you focus on the procedure. Likewise, if it's a task like going into the WRC, you don't focus on or think about the outcome. You focus on preparing well, doing your best in terms of preparing assiduously, working really, really hard, doing all of the research, and then letting the outcome take care of itself. So you separate the procedure and the outcome, the process and the outcome. Now, if you ever watch any top sports person, for example, Johnny Sexton playing rugby and kicking penalties or conversions, or Joe Canning playing football, or Dean Rock in football taking frees as well, they all have one thing in common. That's a pre-shot routine. So when Dean Rock had a shot a few years ago to win the All-Ireland against Mayo, and he was 40, 50 yards out, or whatever it was, he relied on his routine. He didn't think about the outcome. He didn't think about winning the game. He didn't think about losing the All-Ireland for Dublin. He thought about or attended to the process. So he focused on the process. He focused on his pre-shot routine. He focused on all of the work that he had done on the training pitch in Ballymun and in other pitches all across Dublin. So rather than focusing on the outcome, he focused on the process or the procedure. Rather than focusing on the outcome, he attended to the process. And that's what's going to take a lot of pressure off you, and it's going to actually help you succeed practically every time, because you should change then your definition of success. Your definition of success should not be winning or losing a case or a match or whatever it is. It should be judged as by how well you apply yourself to the process, how well you've prepared, how well you've worked, how well you've researched, how well you've turned your mind and your time and your attention and your focus on the task at hand. That way, by attending to the procedure or process rather than the outcome, by focusing on the procedure or process rather than the outcome, you can take a lot of pressure off yourself, because the procedure or process, the work, the concentration, that is entirely within your own control. So you can control that. What you can't control is how perhaps an adjudicator or a judge will decide the case, or how a referee or how a team will ultimately win or lose. All you can do is look after the procedure, look after the pre-shot routine, look after the work that you need to do in order to prepare really, really well, and to be fully briefed on your case or on your team or on your procedure for taking 3-foot putts, 6-foot putts, or whatever. That way you can reduce the pressure on yourself in achieving anything. You can reduce the stress greatly, because now you're going to focus on how well you apply yourself. Now you're going to focus on the procedure, and you're going to let the outcome take care of itself. And likewise, if you want to succeed every time, all you have to do is change the definition of success. Success should be defined by you, not by the outcome, but by how well you apply yourself to the particular task at hand. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up down below. I'm confident it will be beneficial to you. And if it is, give it a thumbs up down below, and I'd be interested in hearing your comments.